talking about this now because I'm in the middle. You can see a unfinished building that I'm sitting in. This is actually, I call it the woodshed. This is in my backyard. We're about to put drywall on here and cover up the behind the scenes stuff. We've been taking photos along the process, along the way of building this. And the reason for this, besides being a really cool space in my backyard, that's really great for storing things, it's gonna be my office. We have a whole bunch of stuff we always want to test that we're not willing to give to clients yet because we don't, it's not that we know it, we don't know it's gonna work or not, but we don't know exactly how it's gonna work and how maybe this piece is gonna go with that piece. So often what happens, what's researched, what's tested is in a laboratory and it's in isolation, and that's a really good way to learn. If we know exactly this is happening and then we add this to it or we change that, what happens? And that's great. The problem is that doesn't always match the real world. And so we need applied research, which we have ironically a lot of, but very little of in construction. And what I mean by that is everything we build is in a way applied research. We've been building things all over the place, right? Forever. And we can see what works and what doesn't work long-term. You talk to any tradesperson who has been doing a trade for a long time, they know the applied research of their trade, even though if they're not specifically testing. What we're missing is often, it's just this kind of long-term feeling or generality, but we're missing when we do like the laboratory condition, right? So bringing those two together, like when we do this, given this other confine, what happens? And so this woodshed is built on ground screws, and they're a great idea. To back up, I guess actually, we use beam modeling for carbon analysis. So what is the embodied carbon of a building? How much carbon are we saving long-term, so energy efficiency savings, and when are we actually paying, how quickly are we paying back that carbon of that building? So for example, most of our buildings are 2 to 5 years, when the typical like sustainable new building with spray foam, for example, might be 30, 50, 80 years. What we found though was that the biggest chunk of carbon we still had wasn't really a surprise. It was concrete, and it's really hard to get away from concrete for foundations, but then especially in Arizona for a slab that we use for our flooring or build our flooring on top of. We have a lot of slab on grade, mostly because we don't need to build deep for frost line. So we want to look at what those alternatives were. How could we actually, can we build better at a site because we don't have to worry about concrete? Can we get rid of that concrete material in general? Can we have something that's a little more flexible? For example, this is built over retention, so water can go underneath, trees can go up right next to it, that sort of thing. So it's built on ground screws. We tested T-studs because we're looking for a building material that we could get thermal breaks, we could eliminate the need for exterior insulation, but still have an efficient building. So this is kind of a look at the minimum viable product to get a building that still meets all of our requirements, especially in the realm of durability, comfort, and health, carbon impact as well. And then what's it like actually building with those materials compared to what we're usually using. So applied research, we do a ton of it. Really for us, that starts as like backyard experiments. Is there some way we can test this thing in a really intuitive way to gain empirical evidence, right? When we do this, it's kind of unarguable that we get this outcome. And then we may step it up to something that's a little more formal. And then kind of the last step for us before, like we've had clients asking about T-studs and ground screws quite a bit, as an example. So we said, okay, those are both good ideas, but what actually happens when we use them? What happens when we use them in this climate? Are they the best solution? Are they a solution? Are they, which situations are they good? It just like, what's the reality of that material for us? And so that's kind of final stage for us. We like to do these little projects for ourselves that they gain the rest of this hands-on knowledge. The crews get the experience. We get to see what actually happens when we use them, but we're not putting a client at risk. And then once they pass that test, then we're willing to propose them for use on clients' projects.